Okay, right. The final part. We'll ask to get down to the nitty gritty. We've talked about you have you sort of quite a few bets a week. So is it all win only, or do you sometimes bet each way? Each way, i.e., in the places. So I don't know what the terminology is in Australia.
90% plus win, I would suggest. If the place price, I have a sort of rule of thumb that if the place price is getting near my win price, my assessed win price, then I've definitely got to be having something on at the place as well. You'd just be silly not to. But there's very little straight each way betting in Australia anymore. It's two separate markets, the win and place markets. So quarter odds in 8-horse fields and 3 places just doesn't happen. So, the bad each way opportunities that might have existed in the past just don't happen.
So what, the bookmakers don't take bets like that anymore? You can't bet each way in an 8-horse race?
No. No. Well, you can take the place price, but it's not going to be a quarter of the odds.
Right, got you.
Not a sixth. Yeah.
Okay, so do multiples or exotic bets ever come into the equation? Do you sometimes go for a row of houses?
I don't. Some friends of mine do it. Now I try to keep it simple. The incremental gains of win betting seems to suit my approach. I've had some good multi-wins in the past, but that was when I wasn't doing it professionally, I suppose, and was more happy to shoot for the stars with my pocket money rather than try and make a living.
Okay, so your main business now, is it done with bookmakers or on the exchanges?
Leaning more to the exchange now, which is a new thing for me. Yeah, okay. And for all those reasons I mentioned earlier.
Have you delved with sort of setting bots or automation or anything like that on the?
No, but it's certainly something I'm going to be looking into in the future. A cousin of mine's been a pro punter for about 10 years, and he automates a lot of stuff, both in his analysis and his betting, and he has had good success with it. As I've sort of touched on, I'm a bit more old school, like to keep it a bit more hands-on in both the analysis side and the punting side. But I'm coming to the conclusion that I am probably leaving money on the table doing it that way. So that's certainly something. Hopefully, I'm not too old to learn, but something I'm going to be looking into. Yes.
And do you get your head together with similarly minded professional punters? Do you sort of have a brains trust in the morning or the evening before racing?
Yes. Yes. Certainly my cousin for one, but I do, Twitter's not a bad resource. I've met some very smart people on Australian racing Twitter, and a lot of people there are happy to chat and share information. As long as you don't let it cover your own thinking too much, and you're not just blindly following people, no matter how smart they are, as long as you have the courage of your own convictions as well, I think that's very useful.
Okay, when you've priced up a race and you see a horse that's maybe a quarter of the price you made it, do you get stuck in and lay them?
Yes, sometimes. Something coming out a quarter of the price I've laid, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I will, for sure.
Okay, now, you mentioned at the beginning that you also do a subscription service. So I assume that means tips or betting advices.
Yep.
Why?
Another income stream is the obvious answer. The service I'm currently with, the Mailbag, is also another avenue to share information with some very smart people. They have great form analysts, but also people who look at the horses in the mounting yard. And some of that late information I've found to be invaluable. So, yes, it provides an income, but it also, I think, improves the quality of my work and pricing, having access to these guys to tap, both from a form perspective and from late information from the yard. That tightens my markets up significantly, I think, and it's a great resource to have.
Okay, something I was going to ask before and didn't. Do you get information? You're interested in information from like contacts, jockeys, stables, that sort of thing. You know, the tips
Yeah,
that fly around. Have you taken any notice of it?
try not to. Yeah, I've over the years I've heard it all. I think that trainers in particular, they're like punters. Some are good judges and some aren't. Just getting information from a trainer just for the sake of it being from a trainer isn't necessarily of much use to you. But if it's an astute trainer who knows how to set up a horse for the right race, then yes, that would certainly be worth knowing. Information from jockeys, no, leave me out of that. Just, no.
So you mentioned that the mailbag is a group of you that get your heads together and then put the bets up. Does that take the pressure off that there's a few of you and somebody can always get the blame if it goes wrong?
Right, yes. In that sense, it takes the pressure off. There's a bit of collective responsibility, I suppose. But I've grown to enjoy subscription stuff and tipping, but it's a different pressure. You've got the responsibility of other people's money too, riding on it. And also you are being watched and judged. So if you're not prepared for that, it's not something you can do. But I like this group at the mailbag. Apart from the information sharing, you can spread the burden a bit amongst between us.
I was going to say you sort of answered it there anyway, but if you're going through a bad run, does it not multiply the pressure terribly that you are putting these also people around the country are losing money when you're losing money, or are the bets not the bets that you would be having as your main income source?
No, well, they are now with this mailbag service. Absolutely, they are, because we actually send them out via an app in the last 5 or 10 minutes. There might be some in the morning if we like a morning price, but then we'll top them up during the day, and it mirrors exactly what I'm doing. I found so. No, if the people who are following you are losing, they can rest assured that I'm losing as well. So if that's any comfort.
Just some of the people don't think about the practicalities of being a professional punter. I'm assuming that if you go to the bank and ask for a loan to buy a car or a mortgage to buy a house, they sort of don't think, that's a valued investment. So what sort of problems have you had in that respect?
Well, I was probably lucky in that my wife and I bought this house while I still had a job, which was got the mortgage anyway. So, and I've been able to meet the repayments since I've been punting, which is a tick for me, I suppose. But I haven't actually faced that. But I know my cousin who I mentioned earlier, he took out a substantial mortgage and had to pay well over the odds in terms of interest to get it 5 or 6 years ago. So, that's fortunately something I haven't had to deal with personally. But it's if you're going to be a punter or in any occupation like that, that's sort of low documentation, so we say, then that's a challenge you're going to face.
You mentioned that you've got a wife, so she must be very understanding. Does it slip into home life if you're doing your cobblers?
It can, because I work from home, obviously. So if she happens to be here on a Saturday afternoon and things aren't going well, she's probably going to hear about it one way or the other. But I was working in the industry when we met, so not that she's a massive racing fan herself, but she's known what I've liked from the day she's met me, so she's only got herself to blame, really.
And you told me that you've seen some, as we all have at a certain age, seen some monumental changes in the game. I mean, the obvious ones would be the betting exchanges, but anything else really? Yeah,
it was. I don't want to make this a nationalistic thing, but I think since the UK and Irish-based corporations started taking bookmaking businesses out over here, that the landscape changed for the worse. All the restrictions on punters that have been imposed in the last 8 or so years, I suppose, have come from them, because that wasn't really part of the Australian way of bookmaking prior to that. It's obviously a far more efficient way of making money for the bookmaker. And as they're allowed to get away with it, they can't really begrudge them doing it, but that was a big change. Yeah, I mean, the exchange is obviously the biggest, but that changed the culture of Australian wagering. There was almost an unspoken agreement, not that it was open slather and anyone could get on for telephone numbers. No, winners have always been played harder. But, you know, if a price was on the board or quoted, then, yeah, there's sort of a sense of honour about giving them a bet for a reasonable amount. So, you know, I know in the Paddy Power, people took over at sports, but, you know, they were cutting people back to nothing, you know, to win $10 or something, you know, when they'd previously been getting on to win thousands. And it was quite a shock at first.
Okay. What do you expect to be or hope to be doing in 10 years' time? Still this?
A version of this, yes. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I've joined with some other people in an attempt to expand and maybe take a little bit of the pressure off myself. But yeah, I don't think I've gone back to university and become a lawyer or anything like that. I'm pretty sure it'll be racing related in one way or another.
Right, last two questions. The biggest lesson you have learnt since punting for a living?
Oh, okay. Since punting for a living, biggest lesson. Yeah, kind of a psychological one. Don't ever assume you've got the game beaten. We've talked about losing runs, but I've had some very good winning runs. And I will say that whenever you think you've got the game beaten and this is going to last forever, that is when either the universe squares up with you or more likely you've allowed some complacency to creep in to your work, and you'll pay a hefty fine for that.
Okay, so finally, young people getting into it, they want to be like you. What's the single most important thing that a punter needs to remember to help them succeed, whether they're doing it for a living or whether they're just trying to make a few quid on the side?
It's discipline. I can't believe anyone, even recreational punters, chase it. It's just how anyone who's ever got into trouble with gambling, that's how they've done it, chasing their losses. You have a plan and stick to it religiously. Yeah, if you're a professional and you're having frivolous bets, that's got to be coming out of your pocket money. It's certainly your bank must be protected at all times and sacrosanct.
Okay, sound advice. Well, Mark Rhoden, thank you very much for talking to us, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Simon. That was great.
Thank you.